Okay, Jackie, let's see if we can get you through this. You've been working really hard. I just took a look, and you're up in the positive territory in McGraw-Hill practice with your net value, so you're doing okay. But some things might be getting clear here as I take a look at your file, all right? And what I'm looking for is detail, okay? So some of this doesn't really matter too much, but I can kind of see under the customer name, I'm not sure you had all this built out and was accurate. That particular column isn't necessarily that important. You have your quantities seem to be correct, and so you probably just typed those in there. So a lot of times I look to see if there's equations and whatnot. And so for the quantity here, that works fine. Material, it looks like you're accurate or detailed on this. You know, you didn't. This looks like you just grabbed something and dragged it down. And as I say, that's once I see a signal like that, I'm looking for other areas where you might not have put all the detail into it. Quality, the way that this looks like you probably have. You're accurate on these. You know these are changing, so it's not just 50 all the way down. I know you worked at this, and that's a detail to watch. Unit price looks good, like you've typed all those in for 10 contracts, and then the contract value here, you did a calculation, so that's good. I trust that you calculated those correctly. They look good. And then there's this promised delivery time, 78. Okay, so the material order, arrival, sort time is 2 weeks, just as we did in class. So that's on the front end. We're going to add 2 weeks on the front end. And what this shows is you didn't do any upgrades in equipment. So because none of these numbers change, if you upgraded equipment to speed things up, what you're going to do is cut the time down. And one thing you want to notice is it looks like your t-shirts were the only thing you ever had the press operation running on at 244 seconds. That's a bottleneck, and it looks like you added in a couple other details here with different processes running. So I'll go along with that. That looks okay. I don't know if it's completely accurate or not. You'd have to check that, but it looks like you're adding the detail in that you need. Okay. And everybody needs a pack, so that does get dragged all the way down here, okay? So then these numbers, let's see if you got a calculation in each of these. Just want to make sure. Okay, you did these a little bit different. You didn't use the sum, that's fine. I see 4 terms in here, which isn't necessarily bad. Oh, I see. You have 4 elements. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's good. Looks like you have the unit cycle time. You have the time in seconds, which should be your quantity times the unit cycle time. And that looks good as you come down here. These are in seconds. Your hours should be divided by 3,600. That looks good. Just spot checking here. Divide by 8 hours per day to get days, and 5 days per week to get the number of weeks. And then we had 2 weeks on it shipping, and so we're going to get the L and the U. Oh, the X. Then you get the X, and you're going to get the Y. So that looks good as long as you were consistent and you don't have any problems in your equations. They all look good. YXL, YXL. Going backwards for some reason. Okay. All right, so those are your calculated times, and then what I don't see here is the actuals. So what you really needed to do here, okay? And I'm looking for areas that you didn't work on that lead you to an understanding. And as a matter of fact, there's a big question here that you need to be answering. A big question here. You really need to do actual time. So if I type in actual time here for you, so you're going to wait until things happen and you deliver your product and everything, and you're going to go back and you're going to look at, we promised it, what did we promise this out as? Okay, so we're going to come all the way back here. This was promised out at 7 weeks, okay? And your calculated forecast is 11.825, okay? What was the actual time it took? That you should really put those numbers in here. So let me just change that up a little bit. I've got to pause here for a second. Okay? So you should fill in the actual times here. Not really sure what this was used for, but I know I even use scratch columns, and you might have started using it, and then not you needed it anymore. I'm not sure what you were using that for, or whether we went over that in class. Did I put that in class or not? I'm not sure. Okay, so raw materials. We're taking a look at the quantity. Okay, so there's a problem here. By the way, so what I'm looking at here is this section is not built out enough for you to be benefiting from it, and that's the real goal here. Okay, so the raw materials here, you have 1291, but what is that? So I don't want to destroy what you have here. I'm going to insert a column, and I'm going to do raw mat. I won't uppercase it. Okay, so the raw material costs. Do you have the costs there? Okay, did you type in the cost of the material? And you didn't look up to calculate how much the material costs. You have to look up the cost of the material. Okay, so you're missing a column here, and so these are the ones I'm creating here, and this is material cost per unit, or material cost per garment. Okay, that's what we really want. I was hoping that would go all the way down, but it didn't. Okay, so I'm going to reformat this for us. Alt-Enter brings it down to the next line. Hit Enter. Boom. Okay, so the material cost per garment, you need to go in and look that up and fill out that column there, okay? And so you're going to look up the price of cotton, nylon cotton, denim, khaki, silk, denim, and you need to put a number actual or average. You know, the first 5 contracts, what you're going to do is go into the material ordering desk, and you're going to look at what the average price of cotton is and every one of these other materials that you're using, okay? Because I can see the raw material cost didn't change. But then you came down here, these numbers are just hard-coded in, so I don't know where they came from. You're not using Excel to its advantage here, right? But just to give you an example, material cost per garment, I would have to go in there and take a look, but I believe, what was the material cost per garment? T-shirts took 2 units, okay? So it took 2 units of cotton. So it's 2 times whatever the material cost is. I think it's 10 cents, but you have to check this. And I would go through here and calculate this to be complete. This is kind of like dithering around a B level, you know, a grade of B on what you handed me here. It's showing me that maybe you're not quite understanding what's going on in the simulation here. So material cost per garment is going to be 20 cents because we have 2 units times 10 cents per unit of cotton. I believe that's a number. You have to check it out. And then the total raw material cost, I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of that, so it's cost of that, right, is equal to what? You have to come back here and do calculations. So you have to come back here with your quantity, right, and multiply that by how much material cost per garment there is, and we got something on the order of $360. Okay, so I'll format these columns here as currency. This is something you want to do. Go in here as far as currency. We'll take the dollar. We'll put the dollar sign in. That might help you out. It's sort of like training wheels, is to leave the dollar sign in there so you remember what it is. Labor. We're kind of. I don't advise using that as one of your major costs at first, until you start really optimizing. Okay. And then you have a raw material holding. These numbers are suspicious. I don't think they're correct. They're hard-coded in there. And we're going to take these numbers here. I'm going to gray those out as well. They're not one of your primary sets of costs here. Your machine cycle cost is a primary, but you have them hard-coded in here. You need to calculate this. The machine cost is going to be equal to... And basically you have a whole section of information missing out of this. So when you tossed it over the wall to me here, I don't mean to be doing your work. I went over this in class a number of times, but what we need to do is calculate the machine cost. So I just added a column in here, and I'm going to hit Control Y. It's 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to have 7 cycles, each of them having 7 processes, each of them having a different cost to it. So I'm just going to copy those cells over here, okay? Because they're the same, okay? So we're gonna have a cost associated with all of them, okay? For each of those cycles, okay? All right. So you have to calculate it. So it's another thing missing. The gray things you don't have to pursue. The green things you do. So we have these things you need to do more work on for it to be a useful tool for you to run the business. Okay? So the green things you need to work on, I'll color all these things green. You have to go in on the manufacturing floor and find out for each machine what the cycle cost is. And then just as you did over here, you want to just show the operations that apply to the current garment. It's going to be very similar to this. It's going to look almost like this, okay? In the fact that instead of time in here, you're going to have a cost for cutting, a cost for sewing, and cost for pressing and packing, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Okay, so you have to do all those calculations. And then this is the unit cycle cost. I'm going to help you format this one. Let me hit Alt Enter, bring that down, hit a delete, get rid of the space, Enter. Okay, so now you can read this thing. Okay, so you have to calculate that, right? So the unit cycle time is just going to be the sum of all of these. Okay, and so if you drop in. This should be unit cycle cost, by the way. It's not time. It's cost, right? Oh, because I borrowed that from over there. I see what's going on. I copied too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I copied 8 columns. So whatever was sitting in this header here before it got blown away. I believe it was probably you meant to say unit cycle costs. And I'm going to remove. I'm going to try to remove the formatting from that for the color. I want to get that no fill, okay? All right, so this is your unit cycle cost, and that's going to be the sum of each unit. And you're missing a column here. So there's a lot you need to work on, and it might explain why you're having a hard time, although I think by repetition you're getting better and better at this, and you might even actually conquer it. But let me put in, now it's going to be a contract manufacturing cost. This is the cost of the entire manufacturing, and what is that going to be equal to? It's going to equal the quantity that you have, the number of garments you're making, which would be 1,800, right? Times, for each unit, what's the total cost involved, okay? All right. So you can drag that down. That should come right down here. Contract manufacturing cost. Unit cycle. Yeah, these numbers, I think you had these down as like the total contract costs. So I'm doing that over here, but you still need this column that says for every garment, how much does it cost to make? And you add up, for instance, you're going to, we'll clear this out. You need to calculate these, but right, the t-shirts will matter, okay? T-shirts, you'll have a cut, sew, press, pack. Each of these will have a cost in there. And your unit cycle cost will be the sum of all that. For each unit that you're making, what's the cost involved, okay? So you have to go back and punch the numbers in. This will become accurate here. And then you can just drag it down. And right now we have zeros in there, but you have to fill in the right numbers here. And then the whole contract manufacturing cost is going to be the quantity up here times the unit. So it's 1,800 times the unit cost here, which is going to be something on the order of like 40 cents or 50 cents here for a t-shirt. Okay, finished product holding. Now, and then finished product holding, that's your secondary look. Get the other parts working first before you get concerned about holding costs. They do hurt you, but don't move on until you have the rest understood. And then shipping, you could definitely calculate this, okay? What are shipping costs? In fact, we have the word shipping here, but let's just make sure we're all really clear about it. So Alt Enter, and I'm going to put shipping costs. All right. So what other column you don't have in here is a garment weight. Okay. So you have to insert and put in a garment weight. And I remember that the t-shirts were half a pound per, okay? And then you need to go to the shipping desk and figure out, let's say the garment weight, that's a unit weight. Let's have to add another column here. So you're going to go to contract weight. For the entire contract, what is the weight? And that's going to be your unit weight times 1,800 in this case, okay? Which I think was, I believe E4 is the quantity. E4 is the quantity. So column E is the quantity. I just happen to remember that. Excuse me. So you're going to take is equals to E4 times the unit weight here, okay? And that's the weight that we did in class and that you have to ship, okay? And then you're going to have to calculate what that is. Since it's 900 pounds, I'll tell you, I'm going to give you a lead on this, but you have to calculate it for all these. The shipping cost was equal to $175 plus, and I need to do, in parens, 40 cents per pound times the contract weight, which it's not allowing me to get, so, but that I can see is AT4. Cell AT4, okay? So these are in dollars. You don't have this complete yet. You're considerably off being complete and understanding how the simulation works through your development tool here. So I'm going to change that to currency. Sure. As I said, the dollar sign is what I consider a little bit like training wheels. Until you get doing a lot of Excel and doing finances, just leave the dollar sign in there so your eyes go to it. But after a while, it's a little bit more sophisticated to drop the dollar out of there. And it just helps to have the 2 decimal places for the dollar. Okay, now, the coup de grace here. This has all been fun and games. Okay, but this total, I mean, what is the total here? There's several totals we have to do. So let's fix this. What I'm going to do is insert a column here. And this is going to be total costs. I would put in this column. And what is that going to be? It's going to be the raw materials. Didn't we have that back here? Yeah. So raw material holding is a minor cost, not insignificant, but it's less than the other ones. And here's your material cost right here. Okay. So let's come back to our equation. So it's going to equal your material costs plus your manufacturing cost there plus your shipping. Those are the big 3 to be working with, and you can learn enough in there to get you through the simulation. So I'm going to drag that equation down. We want to add those 3 costs, okay? Total costs of 3. I'm going to put 3 in parens here. That means there's 3 things in there. 3 things in that cost there. Now, as I said, just calculating this is helpful in itself. But then if we do some analytics on this, what we can say is there's 3 new columns that we have to add. We have to find the relative contribution of, let's say, those 3 costs: raw materials, manufacturing cycle costs on it, and shipping on there. So we're going to do this in, like, say, percent. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert a column. After we've calculated how much raw materials costs, we can say raw materials compared to the contract value. So let's go grab the contract value for our equation here. Okay, so our contract value is $7,200, right? Okay. All right, so we come back. Where's my formula? So my formula is right here, and this is percentage, Alt-Enter, percentage of contract value. Okay. and it's not with a dollar sign here. So let's go back and change the format of this to percentage, and we'll do this, and we have 5%. So 5% of the t-shirt contract was lost in the raw materials. It cost us 5% of the contract value to get raw materials. And we're going to repeat this process. I just want to remember something before I move on, and that is AF4 is our contract value. No, I'm sorry. I4 is our contract value. Okay? I'm going to be using that again. So when we look for the next important cost here, we have the cycle contract manufacturing cost is equal to the sum of all these. It's actually equal to the quantity that we're making times the unit cost here. And we want to know what the contribution, this is percentage, Alt-Enter, machine cost. Alt-Enter costs. Okay, so percentage machine cost of the total contract value. Hit Enter. Okay, so we're going to say it's going to equal this column over I4. I remember that. Okay, percentage. It's trying to format it as a dollar, so we have to make sure, don't get confused. You have to work on this as you go along. We want to go back to a percentage on that. 0%. Okay, so as soon as you get the contract manufacturing cost, which would be, let's just estimate it in this case, it's going to be like 1,800, the quantity 1,800 times the unit cycle cost is 50 cents. I'm just going to hard code it for a second so you see what to do, but you have to go back and use the equation. You have to put in all the rudimentary numbers here. Okay, contract manufacturing cost. How did we get that? We had 1,800 times 0.5, or half a buck. This is in dollars. Let's format that so we don't want our eyes to be bamboozled by this. So it costs 50 cents per garment to make. We had 1,800 of them, so half of 18 is $900. Let's format this as dollars. So you can see I'm doing a lot of work on this. I don't like that. That's accounting. I want to do currency here. Boom. Okay. So you can look at all the work I'm doing. I mean, I kind of went over this a couple times in class. It's good that you asked me about it, but these are all the things you need to do to be able to get dangerous in Mod 4. So I'm glad you asked about this percentage. I just happened to put an extra G in there. Percentage. Okay. So the percentage of the contract manufacturing cost is 12.5%, and then the shipping costs. Let's insert a column here. Okay, shipping costs. Percentage. Alt-Enter to get another line. Percentage of contract value. Percentage. I'm going to change the wording here to be consistent. Percentage of contract value. Okay, so there's three partial measurements of the cost of the product, of getting this contract through. So we're almost done here. Percentage of the contract is going to be equal to this over I4 by memory, okay? And again, it's not formatted correctly, so we'll grab that before we get bamboozled by it. You want to fix things before they get out of hand, like to take care of them right away. And that's a percentage, and we can drag that down. And you have to go back and complete all the rest of these matrices here. And this is what I'm very interested in. So not only do we have the total costs for this contract, but we can express it in the total percentage. Insert something. So the total costs as percentage of contract value. Contract value. Boom. Okay. I want to fix this. Alt-Enter. Good, good. Just formatting a little bit here to be nice to myself. And I don't know why it's not bumping us down. Hold on a second here. One more time. I'm just trying to get this thing to format by itself, but it's not allowing me to. So let me grab the row one last time here and move this down. Whoop. Cancel. For some reason it's not formatting here. Sorry about that. That was a distraction. Okay, so what we can do is we can either add up the 3 percentages that we've already done, or we could just take this and calculate it again, which is the total costs of the three total costs added together here. So this is going to equal this over I4, okay? And these are the numbers you're going to live and die by. These are the numbers that tell you what contract is more valuable than the other one, okay? And when you go through all this work for 10 contracts, then you will pick up on what you're supposed to be doing in Mod 4. You're going to pick the most valuable contracts. And before I forget, I just want to finish off the fact that I was formatting this as a percentage, okay? Always finish something off and drag this down, okay? So the first, you need to go back and repair just the minor last few things here for the first contract, and then calculate all the rest of the contracts to get these numbers. And what you're going to see is you're going to be able to compare contracts and say, you know what, the total costs of this contract were 25%, or this contract, I bring home 75% of the contract value. I encourage you, actually it's part of the assignment, is you need to go through these 10 contracts here, and you're going to see very widely varying numbers here as to what your yield is, what's your margin, okay? So what your margin is 75%. Here's the costs as a percentage. Your margin, if you want to be explicit about this, let's enter another column here. And we're going to say the percentage margin on this contract is what? It's equal to and you have to be careful about your format here. You have to have equals 1 minus this number. Okay? It formatted as percent. Okay? So this is the number that says the percentage is taken out, and the complement of that would be 75%. So 25% versus 75%. Boom. Now, what your total is here, I don't know. Oh, okay. So your total here is going to equal, your contract value is I4 minus all your costs right here. Okay? That makes sense. And it's obvious that you hadn't calculated all these out. Hopefully this helps. You can, yeah, I'll send you a note. You could have put this on a speed up of 1.5x and probably understood it and taken less time, because it's almost a half an hour already. But I'm glad you reached out, and this is just a re-explanation of what went on there. I'm going to produce this and send it off to you. I'll save this as a YouTube video.